Certified Playland. As always, I am Certified Player of Brooklyn, coming at you live this fine evening. I don't have the use of my camera because I don't want to pay for a StreamYard subscription at the moment. But I'm gonna make work, do with what I have going. Uh, See if more people come on like while I'm talking to get to the matters at hand. I'm making sure my YouTube stream is working too. Um, Let me start by the UFO hearings. If you guys didn't know, there were UFO hearings today at the Senate. In Congress. No, I'm bugging. In the Senate. Um, this is the second of its kind, like the second hearing of its kind. There was another one, I believe, in the summer or last year, where they were discussing they call them UAPs, unidentified aeronautical phenomena. Um, the hearing, for the most part, there wasn't shit to it. It was kind of boring. The more intriguing part is the fact that you have people at a government level here in America acknowledging the existence of it. It wasn't like the hearing today or the other one that I mentioned earlier are hearings in which they're trying to debunk the existence of these things. The hearing is basically letting you know, like, in a sense, that there's a lot of collaboration or a lot of people um, are acknowledging the existence of these phenomena. Um, Pilots, government people saying they basically that they knew of the existence of it, but um, didn't want to. Didn't share it because of national security, whatever have you. Again, like most of the hearing, I probably listened to the hearing for a little bit under an hour, but it was boring. The main thing is that this is not like something that's off in the weeds anymore, or like that crazy people will talk about. It's something that it's here. And again too, like the way that they've shown UFOs or whatever behaving like in the sky, like that's you have to act like, the way it could move like so fast, and sometimes you'll see like groupings of like 10 of them or some shit, and they all seem to be moving together in concert, no sound. It's bugged out. But if that kind of technology, like the ability for it to move so quickly, because sometimes those things are like move like way faster than planes. In fact, they actually talked about that in that hearing, that sometimes these UFOs or UAPs basically toy with like pilots that are up there. These pilots that are testifying, seeing them, are saying that these things are flying like at a way faster rate of speed than like what we're capable of. So that's kind of like technology um supersedes ours, and I don't even think it's anything comparable like to a gas fired like a jet, if you will. But the fact that it's recognized, and again, like the other obvious thing is that this is all coming out on the heels of like Trump becoming the president. If you guys didn't see the Joe Rogan interview in its entirety, um, Trump actually mentions UFOs, and I'm a little bit of a body language guy, but I did peep in that Joe Rogan interview that Joe Rogan is like the UFO like conspiracy type guy historically, and it was actually Trump that showed the or that brought up the UFO topic at the end. Like, although that's something that Joe Rogan's like known for, but when Trump brought it up, Trump is very normally like from what I see like as far like doesn't show much expression or like whether that be happy or sad. Bruce Cass, what's up, man? I'm sorry I couldn't go to the rock and roll trivia. I think I could have done well too, my friend. But let me know what's your favorite band too, Bruce Cass. I wanted to ask you. But when Trump brought that up in the Joe Rogan meeting, like I'm a body language guy again, and Trump brought it up himself, and he mentioned like your friends from outer space, something like that. And then Joe Rogan basically acknowledged that the conversation was going to go in that direction. But Trump, before he started speaking about it, momentarily put his head down, like as if he was concerned about the topic. So I found that kind of telling. I mean, like if these senators that were in that hearing today know of the existence of UFOs or UAPs, whatever, you could safely assume that Trump knows just as not much, if not even more, being that he was the president of the United States for 4 years. So we're heading into a new world. And I'm not saying that like in a good or bad way. And I'm not saying that because of Trump, none of that stuff. But we are headed into a new world, whether we're ready for it or not. Some of the Trump plans that he's bringing up, I mean, like, if you read between the lines, it kind of infers the fact that we're heading into a new world altogether. Again, I mean, I'm not somebody who's nuts about change. I mean, especially at a wide scale like that when you talk about UFOs and all this shit. But here we are. You know what I'm saying? Like, what a time to be alive. You're here for it now. I mean, you could have been born in the '70s. I mean, you could have died in the '70s or some shit in a pretty whack decade. I mean, I would have loved to live in the '70s though. But you're here in 2024, like at the verge of at a time in which men or women, uh, a fascist is president, according to some people. I don't think that. The and now you got the acknowledgement from the powers that be that these vehicles that are not of this world are here. Let me move on to my next topic, though. And I didn't. I brought this up briefly the other day when I, and it's a more New York centric story regarding the migrants. And if you guys haven't peeped it, but since Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, um, he was infamous for making New York into a sanctuary city. But now New York City has the infamy of being like a migrant hub in the last couple of years, like the last 3 or 4 years. Eric Adams in the past, like, took credit for that. Like, you know, he, like the concept of New York City being a sanctuary city. He made claims that all migrants are welcome, basically alluding to the fact that these people that are not of this country that are entering the country have a home in New York City and that he'd welcome them with arms wide open and that they'd basically be contributing culture to the city or God knows what. Fast forward a few years later, though, Eric Adams has since fallen out of the favor of the Biden administration. Eric Adams also is falling out of favor with the people that he governs in New York City because nobody in New York City likes the fact that the migrant wave has hit our city. I being from New York. So I started noticing that there was that Al Smith diner, whatever it's called, in which the it's like a Catholic charity kind of thing that they do in New York, where presidential hopefuls go and all these powerful people go. Eric Adams was there though, and Trump had a roast session where he was going in on all these politicians and whatnot, and he actually mentioned Eric Adams' dilemma with the Joe Biden administration, because once Eric Adams showed that he was second guessing the migrant sanctuary city status that he had claimed before, once he mentioned that his migrant problem in New York City wasn't so much his problem as it was something that could be handled at a federal level with the border, I believe my conclusion, and most outside observers concluded, that the Biden administration took offense to Eric Adams' protest. And it may have been coincidence, it may have not been. I don't think it was, but Eric Adams was on his way to Washington D.C. to meet with Biden, and his aide was raided at that same time, like during that trip. So one could easily conclude that Eric Adams was a target of the administration for being critical of the administration's handling of the migrant crisis and the border. But since that Al Smith dinner, whatever it's called, which was probably like less than a month ago, in which Trump actually said that Eric Adams was being done unfairly. Since then, Eric Adams, a Democrat, said that he wasn't endorsing Joe Biden or Trump. He also has the other day, a couple days ago, he actually went at it with a reporter, because the reporter was basically holding him to task as to why he's switching it up, and how there's a certain contingent of New Yorkers that doesn't want the migrants out of New York and whatnot. But also another move that Eric Adams did, which is the thing I want to talk about most in this video regarding the migrant situation in New York City, is that he cut off the funding that a lot of these migrants were receiving by way of debit cards. And I think the migrant experiment, as it pertains to New York, is probably nearing its end. Whether Trump puts an end to it or Eric Adams takes the initiative, but with the fact that he limited these cards that the migrant families or migrants are getting, the fact that he's limiting that, especially in the winter, I think a lot of migrants are gonna find their stay in New York a lot more uncomfortable, and probably start leaving on their own, which I actually got reports of just that today. Hold on. This phone. I got reports of just that today in somebody I know in New York that sorry, I was trying to look through the camera. Somebody that I know in New York was actually telling me that on the low, a lot of these migrants are being shuffled away to Canada. Like, they're giving them the option. And this is, again, only in New York City. You got to understand, too, that these aren't things that happen, like, out in the open. None of this shit is, really. With the migrant stuff, like, this stuff was all cloak and dagger. It wasn't by chance that these migrants all got here. These migrants got here, like, not even through the border. Like, if you hear right now over my house, like, there's a plane flying overhead, like, this is a small ass airport that they have around here, like, and that thing is going on day and night. I've been saying that, and this was during COVID too. I was saying that during that time that they were bringing migrants in via plane, and it was actually put out there recently that migrants or the migrants that are coming into the country, a lot of them are coming by plane through these NGOs and programs. But that stuff doesn't happen where they just say any migrant come through. I think a lot of that stuff happens with like very detailed planning in their home countries, with these outside groups from this country, like from America and around the world, that are gun ho about flooding certain countries in the West with mass migration. And America is the latest victim of that. And New York is suffering for it. But when I say that these operations, a lot of times these non-government organizations, they're these like fly-by-night, like small crews of people that may not work with a ton of people. They may be working with a small region in Venezuela, let's say, that they offer like to come into America, like in just a particular region, and then that group just handles those dudes, maybe 100, maybe 1,000, who knows? I don't want to give exact numbers, but it's the same deal with if they were to start transporting to Canada, like I've been hearing, or like I started hearing the past couple days, where they're offering like, and it's mostly like to the Venezuelan guys in New York, the opportunity to be bussed into Canada. Maybe they feel that Canada's, I know Canada is certainly more liberal than the United States of America, and I'm pretty sure that they'd be more willing to accept them up there. Having said all that, though, I mean, if America has a housing crisis, Canada's housing crisis is through the roof. But also, and I made videos about this before the winter set off last year, when um, and it was basically asking a rhetorical question, me, as to how the migrants were gonna survive a New York winter. Because at that time there were migrants living in the street, and I don't think that they anticipated living in the street, and I don't think that the people that brought them in anticipated these migrants living in the street neither. It's just that New York City, I mean, like you can't like spring up housing out of nowhere, and they ran into that problem as soon as that migrant wave started coming up to Gotham. But now, with the Canadian problem being what it is, as far as housing being so limited, the fact that, like I mentioned with my migrant video in the New York City winter last year, and how people are gonna, what that it's a lot harder to survive in a colder environment like New York City if you don't got a spot to stay at. And again, I'm a master at this. I was homeless for two short stints in my life, as in living in the street homeless. And it's a ton more harder in the winter. When I was homeless in the summer, I mean that shit was a party. I would still go to parties and all that shit. Wash my nuts somewhere and do it again. You know, I wouldn't wash my nuts. Come on, I'm Puerto Rican. We need a shower daily. But you get the picture though. I mean, when winter came around, I was trying to go back to mommy's house whenever I would go away on my little excursion, because it's no joke. It sucks. New York City in the winter. Now, could you imagine a Canadian winter for these Venezuelan dudes that are getting booted from New York and making their way up to Canada? That's a tough sell. And I don't say that stuff like being smug, and as much as I don't want these dudes here in New York City, um, I don't want to see nobody doing fucked up in the game like that. In spite of the fact, also too, that a lot of these Venezuelan dudes, particularly, or I'll put it like the new migrant class that are coming in, like the men, they're not sympathetic figures. From what I see in New York, they're like a gang. It's like another gang to contend with. And I mean, yeah, I've said in the past of my involvement like with gang life as a youth, but I'm a grown man now. You think I want to see that shit now and like have some people that are not of this country figure their way and like or try to find their way and see the light when they get into their 40s? Like these dudes that are like in New York in droves that are between the ages of 15 and 35, all men, and they're all up to no good from what I see. Most of them. Um, so I mean, and they roll like gangs, you know. Because I had somebody tell me like regarding a celebrity who got beat up. I don't want to put his name out there. Rapper that got beat up. Um, and somebody brought up the fact that that rapper was part of a gang in Brooklyn that used to rob people, but that shit was like in the 80s, you know. And that's the same ordeal with me. I mean, in spite of the fact that I've done what I've done in the past, yes, but that doesn't mean that I want to see more of that like in the future. And like in my case, I figured it out, like, or I figured out, I found my own way. But I'm more of an anomaly. Um, and again, these people aren't like the sons and daughters of black New Yorkers and Latin New Yorkers that grew up there. I could tolerate that a little bit. I see where at like New York young people across the world right now are the worst they've ever been in history. Like they're vapid, stupid. They don't think things through. Um, and that goes to say like, and that's also in New York City. But I don't want a new group of young, vapid. They're not even teenagers in most cases. Men coming to New York City in the hopes that they'll also figure their way out, or because they came up poor like I did. To hell with that. Go come up poor where you're from. Like like we don't want these dudes here. Not one bit. I mean, if you want to say that's bigoted, I'll be that. If you want to say that hating on other Latin dudes, fine. I hate on other Latin dudes on a day to day level anyway. I'm a bigot for free if I gotta be that way. You know, because right now, I mean, like that situation in New York could pop off in a really ugly light at any second. I mean, especially if these dudes are getting the boot out here, like or potentially gonna get the boot. One of the people that oh, the my next topic that I want to talk about regarding that Jay Z Dehaven interview, he actually mentioned something regarding that migrant topic too, like the fact that these dudes are out here in New York City and they just got here and they're willing to go into garbage cans to try to make a buck. Now that's not the other migrants. That's probably like Chinese migrants that he's referring to, which I do see that, especially in my neighborhood. You guys remember from that live stream I did a few weeks ago in my neighborhood, where I took you guys to the Chinese section of Sunset Park, Brooklyn. And I know I've seen a lot of Asian migrants collecting cans and stuff like that. That's fine, to make a buck. But he also mentioned the migrants that are rolling in packs, like the like little crews that are out to get a buck. And those are the people I worry about. Like I don't give a shit if you're collecting cans. I honestly don't even give a shit most times, like the whole take our jobs thing. But unemployment right now in America is no joke, in spite of these fake numbers that they put out, which they had to backtrack less than a month ago, the Biden administration, the jobs numbers. In spite of all that, I mean, like from what you see out in the open, like the job market, I mean, sucks. So, and that's for everybody. But if you're out trying to make a buck because the economy is crappy, I mean, that's great. But if you like these dudes that are in that have come from mostly Southern America, these new illegal migrants, they're not out here for any of that stuff. They're out, like most times, or they probably got here and they saw what it was. They saw that there was a lot of easy money to be made in New York City. There's a lot of nice looking women that they could bother, and that's what they've been up to by and large. So yes, the fact that Eric Adams stopped migrants from getting paid by way of the program they were running, which gave them debit cards so that they could go out and buy their own food in the American economy. Um, the fact that they put a stop to that and is inconveniencing these new illegal migrants, I think more of that should be done. I mean, I know that they are probably well aware that things are going to get abundantly harder once Trump does get into office, but that'll probably save the American taxpayer from flying one of these fools back home. Hopefully they leave on their own. And again, like a lot of that stuff sounds bigoted at this stage, but to me, a lot of this, like what's happened, like in the past couple years, like with all these people here that are entering the country, like it's an invasion. I mean, I'll paint it in its proper terms. Some people don't like that term, like in reference to that, but as a New York City representative, I will tell you that my city is inundated. Now, you may not give a shit about New York City. I mean, I don't live there any longer either. I live 20 minutes outside of there. And, the fact that my mom lives there still and a lot of my other family may not mean anything to you. And that's fair. But I don't want this to come to any other city. I mean, like, and I would like to have New York City back. I would like to go to New York and just chill and not be on defense, because that's what it is now. I mean, like now my son's a grown man, and a lot of times I like to hang out with him outside of the house. I would love to go to New York and you know um, go to a restaurant. And not that I don't. I mean, I do still go to New York and do all that stuff, like go to art shows and all that stuff. But I'm usually out of that. Like I'll usually get out of there by no later than like 11. Whereas before, I mean, like New York stays like you go to after hours, go to a club, you know, um, spur of the moment too, like without even planning it. But none of that's happening in New York now, at least for me, and that's not gonna happen in the near future. But we need a drastic measure to clean up New York City, and I think step one needs to be getting rid of at least the criminal element of this illegal migrant wave fast. They got to do that shit with the quickness. These dudes got to go. Um, I wanted to talk about the Trump visit to the White House before I get to the Jay Z Dehaven topic. Um, I did a live stream about this topic the other day that Trump was going to be going to the White House today, Wednesday, and the I watched some of that too. I didn't see if they had an interview after the fact. I just saw the same clip that most people saw today that's running around, which was Trump meeting with Biden in front of that fireplace. Normally they field a few questions, and I think they do this as a tradition. Supposedly they talk about transitions and foreign policy, just a general briefing, and it pretty much went without a hitch. I mean, like, it just metastasized the fact that Trump won, and I mean, it would have been cool for Biden and Trump to field questions, but the people that work for the White House press, I don't know what that is, like, but they basically like are the ones that you hear yelling during these little press encounters with Joe Biden the last couple years. Like whenever they get ready to ask questions, like you'll hear a bunch of people yelling, thank you," like trying to cut off the reporters from asking questions, which should have never been acceptable, but it's been acceptable during this administration. But I did want Trump and or Biden to take questions today when they met at the White House, because it would have been more questions fielded towards Trump, I believe, and it would have given us another moment for Biden to do one of his funny screw ups. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of that stuff today. What we got was just a quick cameo from Trump, basically. But it's still good to see, though. I mean, I did want Trump to win. Being candid, never fronted about that. Not gonna say whether I voted or not, but I did want Trump to be the victor on election day, and he was. And I'm still waiting on, we're not anywhere near like him being in office yet, but will a ton of things change immediately? Doubt it. But I mean, the way he's speaking, some of the appointments that he made today give me hope of good things to come. Now, again, like I'm one of the things I'm most critical about leftists is that people that are leftists or defend leftist talking points have a capability of or propensity of trying to look the other way for everything bad that is from the left, and I try to I hate when people do that to me, like, so I try to not to do that outwardly to others, but I will, like, I'm not, even although I wanted Trump to win, I'm not a Trump apologist. Like, when he does wrong, I'll call it out. And my biggest pet peeve in the past was the whole vaccine rollout. He was the one that created the vaccine under his watch. I have my theory as to why it was rolled out the way it was, but Trump was always anti mandate. And although the vaccine is a danger, the mandate is 100% worse because ether is dangerous. And I don't even know what ether looks like, but they never mandated ether. Lick, tons of things are dangerous, but when you force people into taking something, that's the way, way, way bigger danger. And again, like, in spite of the fact that Trump never mandated anything, yeah, but in part he's responsible for the vaccine. But there were today, like, Trump released some picks that he made for cabinet positions, and I like some of them, but I'm not nuts about all of them. Like Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. Um, not completely excited about that. The dude that he got running the military, I mean, that he's a panelist for Fox and Friends. I actually like that pick a lot. Forgot his name. There's rumors that they want Rick Scott from Florida to be the Senate leader. Like that pick a lot. I mean, I don't want to say anybody but Mitch McConnell. I want really good selections across the board. Um, like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy running the Department of Government Efficiency, a new department, which I guess is supposed to cut down on wasteful spending within the government. 100% for that. But am I nuts about all of Trump's picks? No. But again, we're really early into the game too. Hopefully, like Trump is really good about firing people, so that the fact that yeah, he may not have picked cabinet members that I'm 100% on board with, but I do know that Trump has that capability of not really caring what that people will think that he picked the wrong guy because he had to ultimately fire him after. I think that takes balls, especially in politics, like to say I was wrong and this person got to go. And Trump's, of all politicians, he's probably done that more than anybody, especially like when it was reported so often whenever he would can somebody. So again, I'm not excited about all the cabinet picks, but I do know that with the Trump presidency, with these positions, there tends to be a high turnover ratio. So if they're not acting right, they got to go. My last topic, I wanted to talk about the uh, Jay Z's ex friend, Dehaven, Brooklyn representative. Um, I've heard of these Haven's name in the past too, like on a local level, and I mean, never heard anybody say anything negative in that direction. But a lot of I'm uh I'm not gonna say I'm a Jay Z hater. I've never been a big Jay Z fan like that. Like, um, I've liked some of his music. Uh, I've always thought that. I mean, especially lately, highly overrated. Highly, probably the most overrated rapper in history. One of them. Well, I gotta go with Ti on that one. Ti is one of the worst rappers, in addition to being overrated. But Jay Z has a lot of fanfare for no real reason. I've heard it said from a better speaker than me that Jay Z never had one era that was solely his, and that's true. I mean, if Jay Z tries to claim any era, it got to be some post 2009, and even then, he wasn't like that dude. Um, Jay Z, I mean, and I'm from New York. There was never a year where it was like, oh wow, Jay Z was the outright best rapper that one year. DMX had that distinction. Um, Nas has had that distinction. Um, in my eyes, like, listen, and I'm telling you this, like, and I'm, in spite of the fact that I don't listen to hip hop nowadays. I mean, drill just killed it for me. Drill and before that, 2008 era Southern rap killed it for me. Like Jigs, um, Shorty Low, that whole era, like squashed like rap for me. And I had a lot of hope. Like, I actually like Young Jeezy when he came out. Like, I mean, Foul Playsky was doing his thing at that time, or had to do his thing again at that time. So I mean, like, that whole hustler music at that time, I don't know what I was thinking, but it resonated with me. But having said all that, I'm a bit of a hip hop historian, or I'm knowledgeable regarding hip hop. And nobody contend the notion that Jay Z really never held any year down by himself. Like in New York City, like I'll put it like this: like Jay Z songs are probably just as popular as like Busta Rhymes songs. Like the top Busta Rhymes songs were probably more popular than Jay Z songs, honestly, even on a national level. That's how bad. That's how corny Jay-Z. Like you, I could poke a hole through Jay-Z's facade, like the fact that they built him up so much. And I again, I actually liked Reasonable Doubt. Um, maybe one or two more albums of his. The Blueprint, I mean, was better than Reasonable Doubt. But even Blueprint, that was on the heels of him beefing with Nas, beefing with Mobb Deep. Had a lot of good songs in the Blueprint. But were any of those tracks like D track? No, zero. Jay Z's never had D track like where it's like, oh, we gotta play that song, or like or where it's the hit. You know what I'm saying? Like DMX had the hit several times, um, and it's not solely crossover appeal. I'm telling you from a New Yorker's perspective. Like it was, there were people that were Jay Z fans, yes, but Jay Z didn't have like the summer on lock any year, even in New York. And I mean, like, if anybody wants to contend that notion, feel free. But I'm telling you that I'm from Jay Z's home base, and Jay Z was never that dude. I'm not being no hater, too. I don't like none of these rappers. Zero. Like, I'm not picking one over the other in any case. But now that I've had that disclaimer out there, um, this interview was, I forget the channel's name. I'm sorry, but the channel conducting the interview, I only listened to the interview too because it was recommended by Shorty that's putting Diddy's blast right now. Oh, Jaguar, right? She said that Dehaven, who was Jay Z's childhood friend, had an interview on this other channel. So I was like, you know what? Let me check it out because I actually know a little bit of Jay Z's past history too. I mean, and this is stuff that you could kind of decipher through. Like if you watch Jay Z's first video, not Jay Z's first video wasn't his own. It was actually with an artist from Marcy called Jazzo. But Jazzo had a song called "The Originators," and Jay Z's holding up religious. I mean, or the in the video, Jay Z's not holding up. Other people in the video are holding up like religious pictures, and some of the lyrics in that video are actually quote unquote like conscious, if you will, like like uplifting type stuff or like Afrocentric. I don't know. So so I know a little bit of Jay Z's backstory, or and because I know the area too, like you know Marcy. I'm not like that's one thing. I don't know many people in Marcy. I don't want to front on people, but Marcy's kind of like a dead end, like the way it's laid out in a sense. Like you don't really got to go back there um, for much. Like and right up the block from Marcy, I mean, for the most part, that's like reeking out. Like and I driven to the Puerto Rican area right near Marcy because my dad used to buy food from a lady that used to make these frozen things that you could reheat up. It's like a Puerto Rican. It's called pasteles. But it was there's a real famous lady that would make them in that area, and my dad would cop them from there. But that little Puerto Rican stretch near Marcy is with an eye shot of Marcy. It looks like a real shitty area too. I forget the name of the street though. But I've gone out there a lot of times when I was young, and that area was pretty dumpy, shitty. The whole point was I trying to make? I'll get to it in a second. But oh yeah, D Haven story. He mentioned the having beef with like the Puerto Rican dudes when he was young, like um, and just giving it like a lot of the backstory and how he grew up with Jay Z and how Jay Z was getting robbed as a young man, and that he kind of like took him under his wing, and they became like buddies. Like after that, and he's saying the story, the beginnings of the story started when they were youngsters, and that kind of related to me too, because one of my best friends, I met him in the same way. Like basically, we walked the same route, like to school. That was pretty much how I started my street stuff with the same kids that went the same route as I did. That's how I ended up finding out about the gang and whatnot through that avenue. But so yeah, like the story in that aspect of how he met Jay Z kind of like related to my life experience. But he basically gives a lot of the backstory, how he looked out for Jay Z and how his family and Jay Z's family all knew each other and whatnot, and that he ended up catching a case when Jay Z was already popular, and he asked in Jay Z basically gave him assurances that that case that he didn't have anything to worry about, and he said that that was the last time he spoke to Jay Z, and he hasn't spoken to him since. And look, in spite of the fact that I don't like Jay Z, I don't want to take shots at him just because I don't like hip hop anymore, or I don't like his music, or I don't like him as a character. Like, um, but that is pretty cheese. I mean, some people would say, "Oh, maybe there's a reason that he ain't fucking with-" like." Yeah, everybody always trying to be an apologist nowadays, or devil's advocate, or trying to come up with reasons as to why things happen. Like, you know, and does Jay Z have to refute this dude and say, "Oh, nah, well," like, or put out a statement and saying that this dude's lying? Probably not, because this guy's in the grand scheme of things. I mean, he's not known like Jay Z's known, of course, but with all that's happening now with the Diddy stuff, and to me, I mean, like, if Diddy's not in the picture, who would be the Diddy without Diddy being in the picture? I mean, that distinction could only go to Jay Z. As far as being like the that leader figure in the rap game, Puffy had a little bit of that because he was the leader of Bad Boy, and then he's involved with kind of like a mover and shaker, like the guy who can make something happen for you. Jay Z doesn't have that role like out in the open, like as far as like that trying to recruit you to the team like a Diddy would, from what you see. But Jay Z is in that like top tier in the sense of like the people that Puffy dealt with, or whoever Puffy worked for or with whatever Puffy was doing. I mean, sure, we don't know all the details of that, but Puffy's still in jail, so that got to be some real messed up stuff, blackmail, whatever have you. I mean, if there were another figure that you would expect to be within the same, dealing with the same people that Puffy was dealing with or being directed by, let's say, if you had to pick a rapper that the powers that be would pick, let's say, to be the next Puffy, it would be Jay Z. If Jay Z's not already there as is right now, Jay Z may have passed Puffy like as far as being the role of like the top guy. In spite of the fact that I don't think he deserves any of that stuff, like artistically. Again, I never thought that Jay Z ran one single era since he's been in the rap game. But I know that if I had to guess, that Jay-Z is involved with pretty much the same kind of a grimy shit element that Puffy's involved with, you know. And then going into the people he mentioned that Puffy was dealing with that were snitches, as far as the people that were involved with like Rockefeller or Rock La Familia, whatever have you. Like when Jay Z started getting weird on us. To me, Jay Z started getting weird, and I'm not saying this because of that cover. I'm saying this as a marker, like as a timeline marker. If you guys go back to a double XL story that Jay Z had, Jay Z was on the front cover with like LeBron James, um, Hector El Father. When Jay Z was popping off Rock La Familia, that's around the time when Jay Z started being sketchy to me. That's around the time that Dame Dash and Jay Z came apart, like the last days of the Rock, whatever that DVD is called. This is all happening around that same era, like let's say like 2005 and beyond. But around that time, I started thinking like, Jay Z is making an executive move, and thinking back on it, that's probably when um, Jay Z started getting in line with these same people, or with where Dame Dash wasn't dealing with executives no more. Now Jay Z's dealing with executives. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I'm not hating on him for doing any of that stuff, but um, if you shade somebody out on your way to the top, is chances are you're gonna shade somebody else you love. And I mean, you have two people already that are on record saying that Jay Z kind of did did them dirt. Like he deaded them. But going back to the allegation that Dehaven said about the people that were running Rockefeller being snitches, he gave the name of the Latin chick. Um, I've heard I'm not sure if that there's a guy that they always mentioned, Juan being a part of Rockefeller, and I think I heard another video where people were saying that he had been a federal informant as well, or something to that effect. But definitively, the lady that who was happens to be a Latin lady as well. Um, I think he mentioned her being alluded to her being a federal informant, but and the fact that a lot of the people that he grew up with that are around Jay Z now are cool with the fact that Jay Z's partners are snitches, basically. And there were people commenting like shit to do with the bag and all, like, you ain't gonna like basically like co-signing like somebody snitching, you know, and I'm not Mr. Street person like that. I mean, like I think that it's very cowardly for somebody to tell on somebody else when they're doing a crime together. Like I think that's the worst. You know, in spite of the fact that like some of you guys born 1995 and till now, like always rationalize some bad action that they're doing by the circumstance, or oh, I had to do this because of money, or I wasn't about to be locked up. Like no, like there's no you can't co-sign telling on your crime partners. As far as like how I grew up, that was never acceptable. Um, but being that there's so many dick riders in the world, especially in hip hop, that one little factoid I guess must have missed the people. If and I mean if people weren't up on that, The fact that Jay-Z's business partners were federal informants. I mean, now we know. But I'm looking at the comments of that Dehaven interview, and then people are rationalizing that like it's so prone to happen nowadays. Every time like some crab, like is making excuses for why somebody else is doing wrong. Like just call it out, man. Like no big deal, bro. People think that they're gonna get a record deal by saying that or by not calling out Jay Z or, and these are dudes on YouTube comments, like my man, like the dude's not gonna offer you a rap deal because you have a cool username on YouTube and shit. Like get off the man's pant mandible. You know what I'm saying? But the I think it was a fantastic interview. Whatever's happening in the Puffy now, I mean, like, would I be surprised if that stuff comes to the direction of Jay Z? Absolutely not. I have a theory too. I have a ton of theories, but Jay Z, going back to that video I mentioned, the originators by Jay Z and Jazzo. If you look at some of the pictures that they're holding up in that video, like the religious articles, I mean religious pictures that they're holding up, the group that's in the video, there's a religious group that's in the video, and this is not a big group. This is like a Brooklyn based thing that I know of. I don't want to put the information or say their name or their leader's name, let's say, on YouTube, but that group was around since at least the 70s, let's say. But in the Brooklyn area, I knew of them probably mid 90s, and it was, I'll put it like, I'll say the group's name. It was called the Nuabians, and they're still around too. But in Jay Z's video, the originators, they're actually holding up pictures and stuff, like books. I believe they have like apparel of this little subgroup called the Nuabians. It was basically like a religion type group that was based out of Brooklyn, New York. It was the leader was a guy called Malachi York. But that Malachi York guy went to jail for really bad charges. Some people in Brooklyn said that the charges were trumped up and not true, that the court proceeding was really grimy. I can't say neither here nor there, but at least in Jay Z's first music video, I believe it's his first. I don't know if Hawaiian Sophie was his first or if the originators was his first. And both those songs are Jazzo songs with Jay Z or featuring Jay Z. But in that originators video by Jay Z and Jazzo, you do see them holding up like these religious articles and whatnot. And the teachings of that group are like way more like far out or intricate, like deeper than, like, let's say, a Nation of Islam. They may not be as structured as the Nation of Islam, sure, but the teachings were more in depth, you could say. So my theory, like, to me, is that if Jay Z had any knowledge of the group or like knowledge of the teachings, which he had to have, because that group was very heavy in Marcy, Bushwick Avenue, right near Marcy. Um, in fact, they were headquartered out of Bushwick Avenue, right near Marcy. Um, so in that housing project, people had to have known of them, or like people did know of them, but they had to have like relayed information to Jay Z. If not, he was probably directly involved. Who knows? Like, because why have them in his music video otherwise? It wasn't like it was a to show the Nuwabians in that music video was something that people were gonna say, "Wow, look at this group! Like, how cool is that, huh? Like, let's go buy that record because Jay Z put Nuwabians on the music video." Nah, like the group looks crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you were to see them out and about, you wouldn't think like, "Wow, these this is some normal like construction workers," because they would dress like sometimes like how Saudi Arabian Arabs do. But my theory is that Jay Z kind of came from this black religious background or black extreme religion, if you will. And nobody will tell you that that guy's teachings were not in depth. Let's say, like it was based like a lot of like it's very pro black. Let's say, um, my theory is that if there are powers that be, let's say in the rap industry, is that they rather not take down some regular schmo like dumb ignorant ass dude. They'll gladly like take a Joe Schmo ignorant dude and corrupt him, sure. But I think that if there is a devil, which I believe there is, that the devil would rather catch somebody who they feel is a righteous person or a person who they feel knows the way or knows better. Like they rather corrupt that person, um, rather than some regular bum. Now, the whole like Jay Z Illuminati like references that people do. If there's any rapper that people would say, "Oh, that guy's an Illuminati rapper," let's say, yeah, is there anyone bigger than Jay Z? Like, or if there anyone that they mention more than Jay Z? Absolutely not. And that's been for a while. It's probably been for like 10 years already. You know, and again, I go back to the religious group that's in that group in that rap video, the originators, that Jay Z has some sort of association with. Um, you know, the powers that be, like they huddle, they plan, they know what's up. You may not think that you're important to them, but they probably think you're extremely important to them. And they probably thought that about Jay Z before he even set out to rap. Who knows? I believe in the devil. So I mean, if and the devil's a great planner. So would it surprise me if the devil was trying to gun for a righteous person or somebody that they knew the way? Like, who knows? But you do see how things play out for a Jay Z. I know for sure that he can't go up into Marcy like that unless he gets escorted by a bunch of dick riders that are trying to get thrown $1,000 to escort him around. It doesn't seem that Jay Z goes into Marcy that often. Um, but then you have somebody like a Puffy who you think that they're living the life and whatnot. And I mean, some people may still consider Puffy to have lived the life. But to me, I mean, like, if I had to live my life all over again, which has not been eventful by any stretch, or if they would have let me live Puffy's life, knowing what I know now, I mean, like, I would have never picked Puffy's life. You know how many times he's probably gotten dicked in the ass, or um, from what the reports are, he was doing it to other people. But I'm not like I don't think that a lot of times that Jay Z, I mean Jay Z too, but like Puffy, let's say, started out as somebody who was had an affinity for the rainbow stuff. I think that they just make you do shit like that in order for you to be down. And that's one of my that's one of the things like beefs I had with rap because I've had this theory for a while. It's not like I had to watch YouTube videos to come to the notion that in order for you to be part of the rap game that you gotta do some grimy shit. But and I don't think every rapper is involved with grimy shit. But I can't go around and waste my time and think, all right, like, is this guy cool? Is this guy not cool? Could he be down with it or could he not be down with it? No, I look at it as like for you, in order for you to be down with it, that you got to do some funky stuff. So I look at it like everybody's a part of it, and if they prove me wrong, they prove me wrong. But how many rappers you see like blowing up the spot and saying like about all this messed up stuff that's happening in the industry? You'll never see them say that unless they're like only when they're broke. And even then, I mean, it's they're usually bitching about some like their residuals or money that they're owed, but they're not really giving the game away and saying, "Oh well, look, these are the people that run it. These are the people that are messing up the game." Like because I mean, they wouldn't be calling out black people in that instance. They'd be calling out white people, which are usually at the top of the entertainment industry, particular group of white people too. Won't go there though. But how often have you seen rappers doing any of that shit and calling out the game for what it is? Zero. Never. They never do it. So I mean like I think that that happens because they're all corrupted and they're all part of like the same shit that Puffy's part of. Whether that be doing shit that Puffy does or being the victim of a Puffy type voluntarily. I mean, I don't rock with either one. I don't rock with dudes that do that like for the bag or whatever stupid reason. Like, no. We got to get into a time where like certain things are just unacceptable, and to me, that's just one of them. Um, the rap game. I mean, like if I had to choose, like for it to go away or for us to keep it, I'd rather it go away. Like rap is doing nothing for our kids anyway. I never like really let my son listen to rap until he got older, and it was old rap. But my son never rocked drill once. The only current rapper my son liked was Pop Smoke, and I don't even like. And I actually like Pop Smoke too. The poor guy, rest in peace. But it wasn't like that though. I mean, like I don't even know the name of like four of his songs. Neither does my son. But do I regret like not having hip hop in this house, in spite of the fact that I love hip hop so much, or I used to? Not once. Hip hop is for the birds, and the biggest bird, or one of the biggest birds after Puffy, gotta be Jay Z. And that's not me being a hater. Look at how he gets down. I mean, if the people you come up with are shitting on you, then it's usually you. But I'm gonna conclude this video now. Um, if you can, my brother Reggie Owens, Boxing Talking More, he's gonna be going live. I mean, my brother Reggie Owens. Damn, what the hell is Reggie Owens' full channel name? But you'll find it. He should be going live momentarily. If you guys please could check him out for live content coming up soon. But if you could also do me a big favor, like, share, comment, subscribe, help me fight this YouTube algorithm. It's a pain in the ass and it's an uphill battle. But with you and me together, we'll get through it. But I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, rest of the evening. With that, thank you for stepping into the Foul Player Land. As always, I am Certified Player of Brooklyn. With that, peace.